education?
Education, we got one.
Yeah, we need
You need a gavel.
I know. I got Lauren.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Thank you guys all for coming. Appreciate everybody being here. We do have one guest speaker. William is back for a second time to talk to us about the cycling event that he presented a couple months ago, with some updates on that and some options for us to consider. So while he's getting that ready, how about we go ahead and approve the minutes? Everybody had a chance to read the minutes, make any changes or comments?
Make a motion.
All right.
Oh, I'm a grandma, by the way. Did anybody see that?
God.
Oh, he's so precious.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I moved to approve the minutes.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it passed.
Second.
Very good. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So I think most everybody is here from last time, but I did bring up that I was wanting to bring back the St. Genevieve race. I discussed what the options were. Shortly afterwards, I contacted the guy who helps put on events in the Missouri area, and he gave me some following information, including what the cost breakdown for his race, which takes place in Chesterfield, Forest Park, and Carondelet Park over the same weekend. And I have that spreadsheet with all the costs. But the first thing, I had a date in my head, but then I just realized when I got here, it's the week of the county fair, so more than likely you guys, that weekend is out. So whenever I was looking at the overall national race calendar and other people are hosting events, all of July and all of August is booked. What are the thoughts on having a race in September, the third weekend, or the fourth weekend? My thought process is that's a long way off, that's 4 or 5 months out. Gives me plenty of time to get the race permits going, get more people on board with this. But then I did not know what the overall feeling is, whether or not we should wait till 2022, when there will be a better handling on stuff. I already know, like I just came back from Texas this weekend racing, and there were like 500 people racing this week. So clearly people are traveling. Like we had people coming from Seattle, Washington, California, Colorado, going to Texas to race. So people are wanting to travel to races, but you do have to understand that you are going to be having people coming from these places to St. Genevieve.
First off, I think September is much better than July.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think 22 would be much better, because this is gonna be big, as you say. So I think it would give us more time than
Okay.
22, don't you? I mean, that's my opinion.
I was thinking about like, I'm kind of like, I'm trying to scrounge and find races. So like I traveled 11 hours to get to Texas to race this weekend, where it used to be like 3 or 4 hours that you would only have to travel. So for me, I'm always trying to find races, but my opinion is 2022 is an easier goal. It won't be as rushed, and you can do some more long-term planning versus a short-term, everything's stressed. So 2022.
Could you do a small local race in 2021 just to get people like excited?
I guess
Okay,
like a
so
Fondo or something.
the thing is, for me, local racing is people coming from the Midwest area. That's for me is local racing. National racing is like the race that's held up in St. Louis called the Gateway Cup Series, where you have, in my field, like 100+ people racing, and they're coming across the whole U.S. And there's 10 other races like that throughout the day. So for the local racing, you're still going to be getting people from Midwest and possibly areas like southeastern United States, Ohio area, etc. So I'm thinking 2022 is a better plan. May, I know is generally an open calendar for having events. The person suggested to me that it's a bad idea to have races the following weekend after another big race. Because if you're somebody that lives in like Kansas City or Little Rock, Arkansas, and you just traveled to Indianapolis for a race, and then went back home to travel then to St. Genevieve the following weekend, people are less likely to do that. So I looked at the overall races in May with what the past calendars have been in May, I think is the best.
Do you have to like, knowing that, do you have to get it in like now so nothing else will come in and all of a sudden our May date is the weekend after another big race
I would
because we're not in?
Start on that permit process in like October, November. They ask that you permit an event 8 weeks in advance, which that's really cutting it close. But if you can get something on there 5 months in advance, 6 months in advance.
That's what I was leaving you that.
So,
I think too, just having more time, there's no way you can possibly know, and maybe you do, but like every avenue of an event like this, you know, I mean, do you know? I mean, it would just give us more time to get other people involved, break it down into like the parking people, this people, these people, these people, these people.
well,
you
the
know?
one thing that occurred to me was we discussed the Saturday night crit because we have all the local restaurants around here. You have the bed and breakfast, and you have one hotel in town. But people love nighttime crits. But the thing is, if it's a 4-corner crit or a 6-corner crit, you need floodlights. And does the city department have floodlights? And I don't feel as if lighting is as bright as it would be, let's say, in the St. Louis area, where it's a metropolitan area where that's easier to do. So that's something else that has to be thought about, the
Like, would you
lighting
go to a
situation.
different community that has lights close, but it still be part of this race? You know, is that a possibility, say Farmington maybe that has more lighting, or?
Some
Here in the
people
park.
have been partnering with other towns in doing that, but then it really comes on who's gonna do, nobody's gonna do 50% of the work and the other town's gonna do 50% of the work. There's always gonna be that one town that does more than the other, or that group of people that does more than the other, so. I think the scale that you're thinking is on a larger scale, more national scale. We are wanting to be Midwestern scale, but the nighttime crit might be thrown out the window, but.
Maybe we could just throw a big bonfire somewhere. Just throw a
Bonfire?
You know, just give me the feel of St. James.
Well, the corners that I was thinking of are Main Street and Washington, which that's pretty wide, and then you've got Buddy's right there, and handling on that corner is, it's gonna be a super fast corner, but if you're racing at 8 o'clock at night in May, it's gonna get dark around 8:15, 8:30. So the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes is gonna be at dusk. While a lot of people are confidently handling their bike at that time, you also do have to say that there is that one person that's gonna crash and complain that it was too dark for them. But I haven't had problems with that in smaller towns when being out of nighttime crits. I know other people don't, but you also have to think about the safety aspect with it. But I also think with May, it's a better date overall versus early spring or late fall, or early fall. But
Yeah,
then,
likewise.
The garden walk in May.
Toby, when's the garden walk usually? Is that the weekend before
4
Mother's
Mother's
Day?
Day, right?
It would have been,
I can't remember if it's the weekend before or the weekend after.
because after, I thought this year.
I want to say it's usually in June, like
now are you asking like, it's been suggested to me that you get more support from the community if you can combine a festival or event with the current racing event. Do you guys support that idea, or would you rather keep it separate?
I don't think we need,
I think it just depends on too what you're trying to combine too, because like an event like the garden walk, you're gonna have people walking across streets to the different gardens and hopping, so I can see a timing issue if you have to have a daytime race through the downtown.
I think it should just be a race.
So,
Race
I think
only
it's just
weekend,
gonna be
okay.
a race.
Yeah, especially if you're blocking off streets and parking and
The parking
everything else. Parking is the biggest issue I see.
It's gonna be a big issue.
Although it's not unheard of, I've never been to one of these big races, like Eric Scott has a huge parking lot. Like, does people get shuttled in, or can they ride it in, can they park all their trailers and all that stuff there, and then come downtown? You know where Eric Scott is, right?
Mhm. That's only a 1.5 mile ride, but I'm also thinking by, behind that Main Street Inn, you have a whole bunch of parking back there, or I think it's a lot of parking. But
Main Street, you mean where that gazebo is, like,
behind there, yeah, like the 100-yard path.
yeah, but I don't know what
That's
Audubon's
the
doing
distance.
with that area. They've got some building I don't know. if
Did
that's
they
gonna-
buy that area?
Yeah, that parking lot, am I?
Audubon's only goes back to the asphalt.
Right. Sylvania said
Sylvania still has the back.
And that's where parking used to be for the St. Gen race,
Oh.
was in the Sylvanus area, and then along that back stretch where a lot of people park for Jertifed, et cetera.
And then the Jertifed committee would probably allow some form of activity on their property if we talk to them.
Now, who owns Moses Austin? Is that a
Jertifed.
city? There's parking right there, and you're literally a half mile away, quarter mile away, and that's not,
Then there's a-
you're racing a bike for that, like, if you're gonna, that's pretty close.
What about Lucent parking lot? Don't they got a huge parking lot there that we can use?
That's true, too.
Yeah.
It's not too far off.
It's your tax money.
That's right.
We're talking about our bank.
Our Orleans fields, they've been using parking during the bed, and that would be fairly close.
So parking's not an issue, but so like Eric Scott, you wouldn't really need to shuttle in people for that, like you do for the Jerk Fed or the other festivals going on.
I still think it should be by weekend, by only.
Bike week or bike only.
So we need to check in May, what weekend besides Memorial Day weekend, that follows in May, doesn't it? Or usually in May.
Is that when the garden walk is?
No, that's.
Garden Walk's the first or second weekend in May.
Yeah, I think it's been 14, 15
So
this
the-
year.
Second or third weekend in May. I just know that typically racing ends April, then it appears that there's that 3-weekend gap before on Memorial Day weekend, there's races up in Burlington, Iowa, and they'll attract 600, 700 racers to that one. So Memorial Day weekend, like you just stay away from that one entirely because everybody is hosting one of those.
Do you guys in the biking world wait to hear about other people that have gone to one, like, or will everybody just try this out for the first time? Is it somewhere new? Or do you guys, or do you just?
Being a
dive on
first
and
year
go
race,
everywhere?
you are gonna have to go by more word of mouth for races. I do know that the people have reached out to me because I don't know why, but a lot of racers in St. Louis found out that I'm trying to have a race and they like the race. So you'll get St. Louis people, you'll get Missouri people. It's then whenever I'm going to races, then discussing, hey, we're having a race. So whenever I go down to Bentonville, Arkansas, having flyers, so.
Well, maybe some of those people would like to get involved with planning this too, like, so through the grapevine.
Now, the guy that was telling me about all this stuff, he said that some of the equipment stuff he would cover for the first year, and he said, I'll be glad to help whenever you guys select what date it is, because he's one that will, he's the only one in Missouri now that's actually putting on races during COVID times.
See, that's who we need, because we don't know anything, you know? I mean,
Now, he told me that what he said for the first year event, he said, what I would do is you get all the equipment, you have your finish line, and you just do it yourself with volunteers, all right? He says, I could bring all my guys down to help put on the event, but it's gonna cost more. And he said, if you're gonna try and make it small, then I don't think it's worth paying my people to come to this event. Because he'll be bringing a finish line, he'll be bringing fences, like each corner will be fenced off. The finish line, 200 yards before and 100 yards after will be fenced off. You'll have a mechanics pit, etc. if you flat out, you need to change wheels. So he'll be very professional with that. But I'm thinking this is our first year attempt. We try and keep the cost to a minimum, see how it goes. And he said, I'll lend out some of the equipment to you, the timing stuff, the finish stuff, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, that's really helpful. And that's stuff I don't know anything about. Do you guys know anything about any of that?
Because with a
You know,
5K
that's-
race, you literally get somebody paying $500 to get a clock and get the numbers and you run your race like they do with the old run through history route or the dirt fed, etc. Like that's pretty straightforward. But with bike racing, it's pretty much all day instead of an hour and a half a day. The other thing he did mention to me is, I've talked only about the racing aspect. He thinks that we need to include a Grand Fondo event. He said whenever these Labor Day races he puts on, he gets 600, 700, 800 racers to show up, but he doesn't make his money from those people. He makes his money on Sunday and Monday when he does his Grand Fondo or his running events. So he was saying, I would open it up to the community around, and you do a 10-mile bike ride, and you charge people $10, $20 a head, whatever it is, and if you want to give them a t-shirt, charge $25, $30, and they participated in what would have been part of the race course. So that's something that I wanted to ask you guys, do you want to make it for people like myself, or do you also want to open it up to people who are more casual people who are just wanting to ride their bike because a group of friends got together at work and said, hey, let's do this 15-mile, 20-mile route. It would be similar to like the Right to Survive. So, because I used to do the Right to Survive with Jerry Berthal, Andrew Nagier, etc., but then I started racing, and he thinks that combining that community event with the races will be beneficial in covering costs and actually making more money.
That's what I thought, I think you could combine it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we
It would
were
help
to,
the sponsorship too, maybe.
I would say, if we were to do something like that, open it up, would it be something that the park board could benefit from, that extra piece of the puzzle goes to our fundraising efforts for the park?
It can.
Okay.
I mean, you guys decide what you want to do with the money, because you guys are going to be putting on the park in your guys' name with hopefully sponsors around it. So then it goes to whatever you guys want to do with Paramarquette Park, whatever you guys want to do with the park on Leahy Street, I forget the name, Pinkley Park. Now, that's basically all the things I wanted to ask. Do you guys want to see the expenditures list?
Yes, please.
The garden walk's usually the weekend following another day.
It's following.
Alright, so on this left over here, there's a site that you put on for registering races, so I keep an eye on it like once a month to find out whatever races are coming on. It's called Bike Reg. After I get the permit accepted by Usac, I would post it on bike registration, and then anybody who goes to the website, they'll see that I have this race. So I can see that there are races going on in Spokane, Washington right now. I can see that there's stuff going on in New York City. So it's the major database for cycling races. He basically has how much he made each day or each week that he checked it off registrations. So it just scrolls down. So he made $840 on January 7th. So just this is his profit right here from registrations. Then what goes on over here are the expenses, of course. These 5 guys right here are the 6 guys here are the Usac fees. So what typically happens is you have a head judge, and then 3 or 4, maybe 5 support judges, because you've got to have officials timing the areas to make sure everything is safe. If you don't have USAC officials, then it's not a sanctioned race. It might as well just be a pay and meet up. Okay, so USAC officials are what's required to put on a more professional event. You do have to cover overnight housing. So if it's a Saturday, Sunday event, it would be Saturday night. You could possibly get people to open up their houses. A lot of race organizers contact whatever hotels are in their area and say, like, say Microtel says, we're gonna offer 30% off for a night. Forest Park and Carondelet Park have park fees to use. We're not St. Louis. I would assume the park is free because you guys are the
No, we have a
for-profit.
fee, right? The mic-
I mean, it's going back in your pocket.
Yesterday.
So then, R&R for porta potties, etc. There are fees associated with that. I know we discussed Pierre Marquette. We have 4 working restrooms there. How many restrooms are? Two. Well, there's the 2 by the soccer fields and then the 2 off by the basketball courts. Do they not work?
Oh, like, you need
You
like 4
mean
individual
two
bathrooms,
men, 2
yeah.
women.
Oh, okay, so I assume we would need 2 more unless, are the baseball, that's owned by St. John. That's the school now, so maybe asking if they wanted to open up their bathrooms. I suggest you need at least 5, 6, 3 of each. At least 6. Then there's some other random people. The big 2 expenditures are gonna be, do you guys wanna do prize money? Prize money is what incentivizes people to come to events. So whenever I went down to Texas for the pro races, our field paid out $1,500. It was $500, $400, $300, $200, $100 on men and women. And that was only for the pro races. I was thinking, because this is a winery country and we have Oberly meats and we have Beige goat farms, we do baskets instead because people like wine, people like beer. If you can get craft beers or wines in there, you don't have to pay $500 deep to whoever wins the race. You give them $150, $200 in local St. John stuff. And Overly Meats is already sold up in Schnucks and Deerbergs up in St. Louis, so people are immediately going to recognize that name. And then there are people on my team who actually come down to the St. John wineries and do the tours, so they know what the wines are. So, prize money. Lately, they've only been paying out to the pro fields. The lower amateur fields, you don't necessarily need to pay out for those. That's not something that's going to be, if you guys want to do that, if there's the money for it, then people do appreciate that. But something that you could do though is I would go contact a couple bike shops and ask for merchandise. So if you win the race in your respective field, you get a helmet. And a helmet's $80, $100. So then the other thing is USAC charges a permit fee, which currently right now is $100 for each day, or for a day of racing. I think it's discounted if you do 2 days of racing. So let's say that's $200 right now, because I'm not completely positive on that, because I haven't started the permit. So it's $200 for that. But then, where your major fees come from are what USAC charges and MOBRA charges, and those are insurance. So, heaven forbid somebody got injured, you have to have insurance, it's done through USAC. So they charge $5 a head, and then MOBRA charges $1 something, maybe $2 something, and that's the local Missouri bike racing organization, because there's also that to be considered. So, whenever he totaled the cost for his 2019 race, his total costs were $12,500, but off registrations he made 28.5, so his profit was 16. The thing though is, He did say he'd lend out the equipment, so that'd be 0. But in future years, you also do have to consider equipment. So I'm not saying that we're gonna make $28,000 in the first year, but I do know that 2019 was a much smaller race than it was this year, because that year there was like 40 people racing in my field, and this year there was 80. So his profit margin this year was much bigger.
I must say, for just being a racer, you sure know a lot about the behind the scenes. How did you learn all that? Or how do you know this? Or does every
I
racer
talked to
know
him
this?
on the phone for an hour and a half, and then he manages the team I race for, so I've talked to him several times about it. And it's just stuff that you casually find out. So I know that before I started racing for this guy, one of the major gripes was prize money, okay? How come you're not giving out good prize money? Because there are some races that if you win, it's typically held in July, but it's now going to be held in September. But it's held in downtown Indianapolis. It's the Mass Outgrid. If you win that race, you make $1,500. Okay, so you win, it's $1,500. So people look at that and be like, well, they're offering $25,000 in prize money across all the fields. Why don't you do that? He also has to consider that he has other costs. He has other people to pay for. I'm also thinking of, as it's COVID right now, like people are wanting racing, people are going to go for their racing, they're going to look less at the prize money.
They just went for the sport.
Yep. And then you also start finding out that he owns several bike shops in St. Louis, and I understand this is a business, but it's a side thing that he does compared to what his bike shop actually.
Well, and could you get local people to maybe donate cash prize money?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean.
One of the things that is actually huge, so the Memorial Day races in Iowa, they have a spectator prize purse. So somebody goes around and people donate money into it, and they ring a bell halfway through the race, and whoever comes across the line first, they make whatever was in that hat or in that bucket. So if you can get the spectators walking around or watching the races, like that one I think was several $100s that person won just for sprinting across the line first. They didn't win the race, right? And they made more money than the person who won the race, but the spectators got behind it. They drank a lot, so people kept donating more. So,
Sounds like a drinking game.
well, I will say that for some reason, spectators, whenever they get drunk, they really like watching people going around in laps and laughing at them. So it's a really cool spectator sport whenever you can do it on a technical circuit and people come around 30 times for several hours in advance. And if you have people in Audubon sitting, or you have people as buddies, I don't have people going down Merchant right now. The race is not going to go down Merchant Street, but people would absolutely love it. I was hoping that various businesses like Wholesome, maybe Mississippi Lime, would possibly donate money. I know in the past when my dad put on the Run Through History route, Mississippi Lime would cover the registration fees for anybody who wanted to do the run. Perhaps if you were running Grand Fondo ride event alongside, they would say, we have 30 people interested at $30 a pop. But that's all I had to say. I think it took a bit more time.
That's all right.
I'm thinking May
Yep.
of next year. And
Yeah.
I know what was discussed last time was getting a little group together. I'm going to be moving to Indianapolis to start grad school, but I'm still going to be around here. but I'm willing to work with people. I know my dad said he'd be the race director, but I don't know who I need to work with, what the expenditures are, who's the secretary, who's the treasurer, all that. But you-
I can meet with your dad, and we can figure out how to make it happen.
Okay, now my thought process is we don't need to start it now, we need to start looking at this in September, October, start the permit in November, and I'll start letting people know that we're looking at May of next year.
Searching out sponsors on,
Right.
No,
you know, go ahead and start getting some of
Yeah,
that stuff lined out.
Once everything starts going, everybody's gonna be, we're already being bombarded. I mean, you can tell that people
Well,
are not finding COVID.
I didn't know that it was gonna end up in the paper whenever I said something in February. But, are you gonna be writing something again? So then, like shortly after that, visiting Baby Goat Farms, visiting Overleys. My sister works for the Cave Winery people, contacting them, contacting Town Valley, etc. to see what we can get lined up. I don't know the Wholesome reps or the Mississippi Lime reps, so that's something.
Yeah, we know where that.
Well, that and you got your liquor providers and all that, you know, Coldwell,
Yeah.
sorting. I'm still trying to figure out when Memorial Day is in 2022.
Just ask Google.
So should be
It's the
fourth,
thirtieth, it's the
29th.
30th.
The 30th, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So May of 2022 is gonna be a little bit different. That, May 1st is on a Sunday. And then that first full weekend's the 7th and 8th. That 8th is Mother's Day. And then
So 14, 15 would be that,
I believe that's gonna be the garden walk
okay?
if they stay with what they've done. And then you got the 21st and 22nd, which, I mean, you're getting into graduation season, but I don't know if that's a conflict or not. I mean, it's not downtown
I will
necessarily, but,
Talk to my dad about with Valley with that one. One of the things I was thinking, that would more than likely be state track championships. So then I do know my dad will be concentrating on that. So I will contact him on like the graduation thing, but I don't mind being on the race.
yeah,
As long as I get to start the line in all 3 races,
yeah,
and then I help plan leading up and all that.
yeah, I don't.
The other thing I was also thinking is, Dad can contact Frank Kirchner. People love a play-by-play, announcers and all that. And I think it'd be cool to hear Frank's voice relaying the racing.
Yeah, good,
So,
very good.
but that's all I had to say.
Great. Well, I think you got the support of the park board.
Absolutely.
Well done. Just try to lock down a weekend in May.
And then
This
I'll
year,
wait.
that big track thing is the 15th of May, this year. I don't know,
Track
like,
thing.
the big track, regional track,
Yeah.
that you was.
Well, you got sectionals and districts and stuff like that, so it just depends on which one, I guess, St. John ends up hosting, if they host.
Yeah, we're host, I know, I didn't know if they changed the host every year. This year was the 15th, I know they're hosting. It's gonna be huge. I don't know if it stayed the same every year, pretty much.
So we can try to firm up a date by the next meeting.
Okay.
I really think a date's very important.
I agree.
The sooner
Yeah.
the better, otherwise it's gonna get.
Try to pick the best weekend in May. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're
We're excited
welcome.
about it.
Thanks.
And then I'll start sounding off on a few people, and then I guess you can contact my dad then.
Yeah. Yeah,
on
that's
the
fine.
other stuff. All right, thank you very much, and I'll look forward to
Good job.
working on this. So, you guys have a good night.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you.
Field operations report?
Mowing and weeding.
On the
Thank
mowing,
you.
they mowed today,
Yes.
and they
W.
kind of rutted up some
Shred off that thing
ZOU.
right now.
You'd be like hole
Yep.
number 4.
I don't know what holes are holes.
All right, thank you.
The little
Like Girl
round-
Scout shack, yeah.
Yeah, where Cross country, they run down, so they're going down that area, got rutted up pretty bad. But that's all I noticed.
It'll be fixed tomorrow.
What are those little things?
Oh, yeah. The markers, the silver one.
Yeah, they're supposed to mark, circle one, but I'm actually gonna remove them because they're not staying in the ground very good.
But I mean, what are they? What do they do? What are they for?
It shows you where circle one is whenever you're playing disc golf.
The disc over the basket.
It's 33 feet from the basket. When you're inside circle one, you gotta play differently, like you have to have control of your putt. Outside of circle one, you can actually jump putt.
You can't dunk it.
Yeah, so. But they were donated by Alkin from over in Farmington. I'm gonna pull them up and actually just use them for tournaments. You know, whenever we have tournaments, then I can spray my circle line around the basket and put the little markers. So, just gives everybody an area where they.
I was just curious what that meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
I
mark
figured it
circle
was
one.
just circle one.
Yeah, so it's the same distance no matter where you're playing. So they get used to playing at that distance.
Yeah, it's 10 meters, it's like 33 feet, is what it is, so.
We finished up some mulching in the park. We left some up there for Jeff to use.
I appreciate that.
We repaired the siding on Main Street bathrooms and reworked with some of that on the front of that.
Good.
Bathrooms are all open. I don't remember if they was open for the last meeting. Minor repairs. We did some more leaf blowing out at Valley Spring Park. About it.
Any other questions for Gary? Comments?
I was curious, I wanted to ask Mr. Carroll or anybody else what they thought about at Valley Springs Park, that lower boggy area down where you walk down, and there's the bench. If it's necessary, if they mowed, or if they like just mowed maybe a path through there instead of mowing it, would that look like you were not mowing, or could it give it a wildy looking
Is it
natural? I don't know what it
Is
is.
that fescue grass down
Well,
there?
I think,
it's just
I don't
grass.
know, you know, I just think, why mow all that when it's not really used for anything, but they can just cut down
We'll
on the
make the
mowing.
mosquitoes worse, though.
Mosquitoes do get that down there.
They're gonna be bad whether it's short, they're so boggy. I was
Yeah,
just
usually the
curious.
ones down there have shadows anyhow.
I still would like to initiate some kind of community cleanup day at that park.
Yeah.
I think we need to do it at both parks.
Yeah, I mean, all of them can just use, but that one especially, I just.
I know there's a lot of trash up here, Marquette.
I think it just comes down to picking a day so you can let people,
Yeah.
volunteers know and stuff, so.
You just, a few people can make a big difference.
I mean, that one day,
Yeah,
the
no.
three of us went out, and we picked up about a bag each,
Yeah.
trash bag full each.
Or even the scouts could get involved, church groups could
Yeah,
get
yeah.
involved, whatever.
I think the biggest thing is just picking out a day, that way we can advertise it and see if
Yeah.
anybody comes out, and then, of course, our participation, so.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would be anything that the park board would have to approve, would it? I mean, we could just like maybe send out a text, hey, this is blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then whoever shows up, it's better we were.
Yeah, whenever you do that, I mean, you need bags or two breaks or just good power.
Okay.
Makes a difference. You'll do that one?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good deal. All right, master plan committee reports, who wants to start?
We'll start.
Okay.
Okay, at one of our meetings, we discussed looking into getting professional fundraising help because, you know, we're looking at a large amount of money to do this entire
Yeah.
plan. So I went online and found Wendy, what's her last name?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, she's a fundraising consultant out of St. Louis. She's done a lot of work. Well, she was headed to New York when I had talked to her about doing some fundraising thing up there. And unfortunately, two of us on the committee had the wrong night for the Zoom call, but thanks to Sean here, he was on the Zoom with her, and so he's going to present what she presented to us.
So.
And this is Sean Long, by the way, if nobody.
So, basically what everyone's discussing is doing a capital campaign for this.
Generally, the way capital campaigns work is you do between 75 and 90% of the campaign dark, basically meaning that the public's really not aware that a capital campaign is going on. By the time it's announced, you've already raised the bulk of your money. So if you see capital campaigns for like the zoo or whatnot, you know at that point, when as an individual, the bulk of that money is raised. So what she would be doing and what her company is designed to do is basically take the intricacies and the needs of a large fundraising program. Because at last count, you were thinking between $2 and $3 million. She basically would take every single aspect of that thing and break it down and work with you as a group between identifying participants, whether it's an honorary chairman to get on board to get more people involved, building up, your teams. Unfortunately, fundraising is not an individual sport, it's a group effort, so it wouldn't be just one or two people raising $3 million. It would be probably every single person at this table doing, everything they can to get the word out. So she would basically be taking it and breaking it down by, here's what we need, here's how much we need to raise, identifying your giving levels. She said basically at $3 million, your like top tier should be $500,000. So you're looking at $500,000. So you need to basically, that's kind of like your benchmark. Who's that $500,000 donor? So we would be working with her and her team in identifying those people and then identifying best practices on how to reach them and all of that sort of fun stuff. She did say that the feasibility study would be about $21,000. A feasibility study is a benefit because what they do is they actually call people. So we would sit around as a group and say, here are the people that we would ask for money, and they would actually call them, talk about the project, find out how much they would give, what they like, what they don't like, and then they would bring that back to you and say, here are the things that they said. If you go talk to this person, they really like this aspect of the project. They absolutely can't stand this aspect of the project. So you can do a project like this without a feasibility study. She even mentioned a modified feasibility study. The nice thing about those is it kind of works out the kinks before you start. So she basically said that it's a percentage of the cost of how much you want to raise. So between that $2 or $3 million cost, you're looking at $80,000 to $200,000 that it would cost for you to get this company to help do that. And then that is something that you actually work into the budget. So it's not you guys sitting down trying to come up with $200,000 by next week. It would be taking that project piece by piece and saying, here's what we need, and they would work with you on kind of, basically you would pay like a month by month type thing. So maybe instead of $200,000, maybe you only need $3,000 or $4,000 at a time. And by that time, if you have anything built in the reserve, you can use that to start out. By the time you're bringing in money, that's all kind of being cycled in. The goal of this company, and I think where it would really be beneficial to have it, is they try and keep it to an 18-month. So you don't want to be fundraising for this project for 5 years. Because by that time, costs overreach, maybe the project changes, and next thing you know, it's the project that we approached the donor 5 years ago has completely changed, and it's not even on board anymore. So from the moment they start till the moment you're signing the checks to start the project should be 18 months. That's kind of the experience that they're bringing in for you for something like this. So I mean, that's everything that I discussed with her on that. I mean, you can get into the more of the weeds with it and ask a bunch more questions. It's just, you know.
And she's willing to have another Zoom meeting with whoever wants to sit in and we went, you know, we talked about going with the same company that did the Catholic Church campaign and the museum and what, was it the hospital? They all use the same, but it was brought up by John, you know, they send out the same letters. And you don't want to send out, you want a fresh eyes on this, you know, even though the company knows St. Genevieve and all this stuff. But if you go back to the same people with the same form
That's what I
letter,
was at,
they're
that's what I
going,
picked through all of this, how many times can we beat a dead horse? Keep
Yeah.
asking the same people over and over again.
well, yeah.
And like you said, if it's somebody different, maybe they'll just.
But, yeah, and, you know, would have a fresh perspective. And when I talked to her, and again, when Sean had talked to her, she's excited about doing a park project, because she's into parks and stuff, but she's never been asked to do one. She's worked with, the botanical gardens, with the, what's that new museum up there?
Jewish.
The Holocaust Museum, she's worked with them. So, you know, she kind of knows what she's doing, and she was like the only one that I found that when I was looking, that actually her website was more appealing than any of the other ones. And so that's why I called her, her name's Wendy Dreyer. And so she's located out in Chesterfield, but,
Does, what we want to do, is it, do we need this service?
Well, we still need to figure out a cost.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're
And-
still up in that
Well,
round,
and I
what
was-
anything's gonna cost.
Yeah, and
so.
like even just listening to William talk about, you know, getting sponsors and stuff like that, like I think I love the idea of doing the cycling thing, but I think as we move forward, we have to keep in mind that if we are gonna be hitting these same donors, you know, event after event after event, then maybe it's just better that we approach them and say, this is, you know, if it is gonna cost us $3 million, this is what it's gonna cost us. What would you be willing to give us? So that way it's just one sum
big
they're giving
sum,
us versus us going to them 10, 15 times over the next, you know, 4 or 5 years, whatever that looks like, you know?
Well, and she mentioned when I talked to her was, you know, you can go to somebody and say, hey, can I have $5,000 for this project? But that person may be able to give you 10, but all you're asking for is 5.
Right.
They're
So
only
you
getting-
don't, that's what the feasibility study shows, that we possibly have people in this community, or organizations or businesses that maybe could give that $10,000 or could give $20,000. And if all we're asking for is 5, and that's all they're gonna give.
Yeah.
But they have the ability, and the feasibility study would show those organizations, those people, those businesses that could possibly give us that big amount. And like she says, you're not saying, you're basically going and doing it silently at first until you've got, you know, pretty much all of your money made. And then you start having the fundraisers, the, you know, the bake sales and the whatever, you know, type of things you wanna have. I mean, she made sense, you know, so I think we need to decide if we want to contact her again, maybe bring her on for
What's her website?
just Wendy Dreyer Consulting.
DRY.
DR. DY, yeah. We do have.
And of course, I mean, she's out to make money, because that's her
Well,
business.
yeah.
Especially, I mean, I'm just suspicious of everything.
The-
Isn't it
Yes,
worth?
The way they operate is, it's gonna be worked into the campaign. So if you're raising $2 million, you know, between 80 and 200,000 of that is gonna be paid to her. So, I mean, you have to adjust your budget accordingly.
Right, and does like every big project take on someone like this normally? You know, or is our little 4,500 population
No,
Oh, yeah.
town needed?
I-
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
the
anything,
museum,
that's why
the
I
new
just asked.
museum did a big capital campaign, they brought in consultants. When the Catholic Church did a whole bunch of stuff, they brought in two consultants. Let's see, the hospital brought in consultants in order to raise the money for the, you know, the improvements there. So, yes, it's, all communities bring on consultants, you
When
know.
you're getting into the millions of dollars, I mean, you wanna be as quick as possible. Because
Right.
if you're past, if you're going into year 2 or 3 fundraising for the same thing,
Well, that's
No
how
one
I have
cares.
felt being on this board for 20 years, trying to get a playground. You know, we're just spinning our wheels, it's
Yeah.
never happened. Yeah, and now it's all of a sudden, 'cause I always thought, how do you even begin to get all this
well,
money
and,
in?
and that's part of what they're gonna do too, is they're gonna work on that kind of, they're bringing that experience for the wording, that, I mean, that's their job. Their job is to raise money. If they're not successful, they're not gonna be in business that long.
Yeah, they're not
So
gonna pay.
their goal is to make sure, I mean, they're gonna have the tools that are gonna be able to, you know, write a letter that's gonna get a response rate that's better than, you know, anything any one of us put
Like
together.
us going, dear.
Dear so-and-so, so, I mean, it's,
And they would be working basically with us, like they know how to approach a local organization. You know, you go in as part of the park board and say, here's our plan. This is what, you know, basically asking for money. They basically tell you what to say.
yeah,
And
and as Barb alluded to, I mean, the thing that they're gonna give you is the information. Information is king. I mean, if you, like she said, if you ask for 5 and they could have given you 15, you've lost 10.
You've lost
So,
them, yeah.
I mean, there's actual software out there that you can type in any one of our names into the software and it will tell you how much you have. And as a fundraising professional, it will give you that kind of target. You know, it might be like, okay, I'm gonna ask for $1,000. And it might, you know, for some people, it might be like, oh my God, $1,000. But like, that's in your wheelhouse, you know, whereas if, in that $5,000 example, you know, that's somebody who can pay $5,000 or $10,000 or 15 or 30 or whatever.
That's so cool. I bet that made you happy, discovering this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, why didn't we go here before?
I
Can we
think
just not
it was
think about it, or-
suggested at one time, but then we just kind of didn't follow up with it. But then John suggested it, and I was like, okay, I'll do some research. And, I mean, if y'all want to meet with her, she's willing to Zoom meet, you know, we can do a Zoom meeting here.
Good. Do you want to use it in the next meeting, or do you want to have her present? Ask questions, you want to do a separate meeting, it's fine.
I think we should do a
All
separate
right,
meeting.
so-
Okay. So you can ask some questions. All right, let's do it.
Okay, what,
Why don't you check with her availability? and see-
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, send us an
Because
email.
she said, because she met at 6 o'clock, you know, in the evening, so that's, you know.
Yeah.
But
So
the
that
hope
sounds
is,
awesome.
the hope is to meet with her within the next
I
month.
think so,
Yes.
Okay.
before our next
And-
meeting.
Okay, and then we can,
Then
because if there's gonna be a quorum, we need to let the
Right.
public know within
Right.
24 hours. So, you know, as long as we try to set it within the next month, then we can get that out
Yeah, okay.
through City Hall and stuff, so.
Well, I mean, this would be more or less a committee meeting
But,
to meet with her.
yeah, but if there's more than, if there's a majority of the board here, just wanna make sure we're in line with Missouri's state laws.
Yeah.
So I will email her and see when in the next 2 weeks she would be available.
All right.
What night is due for a Monday night again?
Fine.
Would that work?
Y'all killing me.
Tuesday night.
Me too.
Let's go, yeah,
Tuesday nights.
I'm on the league on Monday nights,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so.
I mean, any
I was
night.
gonna
Tuesday,
bring
yeah.
that up too, about a different night on meetings, but that's.
So shall we do all that for a Tuesday night, is
Tuesday's
that?
fine. Good,
Yeah, why don't you see what she has and we will work around her,
yeah.
because there's too many people here to try to, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay.
Do it, whatever.
Yeah, she can give a few options maybe.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
And
Right.
can we have the ability to do a Zoom call from here?
Should be able to, right?
Just need a laptop.
There's a laptop.
Yeah.
Got a camera?
Yeah.
Huh?
Got a camera on the laptop? Gotta have a camera.
Don't you have a laptop?
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, I do have that, it's our, that doesn't have a very good camera, I'll have to bring the other one.
Oh, it won't make, yeah.
And the only thing I'll
I mean,
need
how would
is,
that, how would that work with a whole bunch of people in one?
I'll just need
We
an
just have
email.
to
City
position the,
Hall.
we'd have to put the
Need it City Hall.
laptop there and then just
Oh,
have
you
it
use that
project
camera, yeah?
up. It'll be fine.
That'd
City
probably
Hall's
be better.
boardroom's already set up for Zoom meetings.
Cause you're already set up there.
Better off meeting at City Hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just need to give her, I'll get the invite and I'll, because she needs to probably send you the invite.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll know when it is, we can post it and advertise it. We'll be
Okay,
Yeah, if you wanna send us her link to her website or whatever.
okay. Yeah, she just sends out an invite
Okay.
on email and then we just.
How many Zooms does she give you for free?
Well, just be one login.
Yeah, I'll just be one.
I'm just curious.
I'm sure she pays for a lot of.
Oh, I get what you mean, never mind.
Okay. So far,
Okay,
that's all we have.
Good.
That's huge.
It is huge.
That's awesome.
Oh, we did, Sean also created us a QR code, so thank you, Sean. So now, we'll
Okay.
start putting it on any of our fundraiser stuff, so like all of the flyers that we're sending out with the, part of the, movie nights, for like anything we're doing, we're gonna start adding it to it, so then people can just scan the code and it takes them right to our donation link. So they don't have to worry about looking for a website, remembering a website, anything, it takes them straight there.
And this might be stupid, but like on the Facebook stuff,
Yes.
will it be on that? Or is,
We can't,
I don't know if it's beneficial to do that, I have no idea.
We can
we
I
can
know-
add it,
I know like on
I don't know
Facebook,
that
stuff like
many
that.
people will
yes.
use it, but we can.
But that, I didn't know if that's even something that.
Yeah, it's always fun to have. I always do those things, just see where I go.
Yeah, and Sean did bring up at our last meeting, which I thought was really kind of ingenious, that at some of the areas where we plan on having some big items like the splash pad or the adventure playground, having somebody make some of those just yard signs,
Oh,
something
yeah.
really simple,
Great
and
idea.
posting it and saying future site of, and then we can have another QR code for them to donate to us, and maybe even pictures of things we're looking at.
That's
So
awesome.
it'll be like a way as people are walking through
That's
to,
great, yeah.
so, yeah, that was another one. He's been invaluable to our committee, so,
Very good.
yeah.
And that was one thing she also said was, you know, we shouldn't be having events, fundraising events, until we get the letters and the, you know, and that kind of stuff, which, you know, I'm not gonna refuse somebody to donate us $100 for the spend, you know. But, you know, that was the one thing was,
Just what the sooner to get for the better, you know.
so rather than somebody that can donate, you know, they could donate 1,000 instead of 100.
Or cake.
While we're on the topic of, sorry, I think we probably ought to catch up on movies in the park. The schedule was made public at the last meeting, and then in April 1st, we sent out the information to potential food vendors with a flyer with the dates of all of the events and the peddler's license, anything that they would need. We still haven't heard back from anybody, but
I did get, yeah, so I have Luna's that is a definite for the first one, and then I also have a couple others that she had told me about. It's just that because we had told them that they didn't have to give us like a definite till 2 weeks prior, because I was just trying to avoid clashing with Sean's push for him and the museum's event. So, yeah, it sounds like we potentially have 3 for the June date already. And amongst the food vendors, they've been talking about it, and seems like everybody's excited, so that was a big bonus.
And we've got the event page set up for the first one on June 26th, the Frozen movie. Well, when we published the flyer to Facebook, originally, there's about 100 interactions just with that flyer alone. And then a couple weeks later, we created the first event page for the Frozen movie, and we're at about 120, 125 interactions with that, of people kind of RSVPing, interested or going. So I think the word's getting out there, and a lot of people seem really excited. I've had some people come up to me in person and talk to me and ask me questions. So doing good.
And is there a conflict with, is there fireworks that night
So
too?
I was gonna say, we need
Yeah, I
to
was gonna
discuss
say, yeah, we
it,
probably should resolve that. to
Address
see
the
if
elephant.
that- Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's gonna work or not, I don't know.
because, so, when Gary initially called me to let me know that that was the only date that was available,
Yeah.
I mean, we as a committee spent a long time trying to pick out our dates to make sure we didn't conflict with other things. We tried to stay away from the first weekends of the month because of Jurda Fett, the fair, 4th of July, all of these things. The middle of the month, when we initially picked June, it coincided with the Down syndrome event, and because it is such a big event that our community really goes to and attends, we didn't feel right, doing something at the same time. So we chose the last Saturday of the month because we always felt like there really isn't a lot going on at the end of each month. So it's, we've really pushed. I initially told Gary that maybe we could coincide that either after the movie, they'd be able to do fireworks, but my fear is by doing that, if our movie doesn't get over till 9, at 8:30, I mean, if anybody goes to the park to watch fireworks, that place is packed an hour before because people are trying to find parking spots, and it will take away from our fundraising efforts. And because then they will have to be down there setting up early. If the Muni Band's gonna be there, I don't know. It's just all of this extra noise, so to speak, that I feel that it's gonna take away from the efforts that we've really tried hard to do. And because we've pushed it to the public, almost 2 months ago now, because we put it on the city calendar at the beginning of March. So it's just one of those things that I don't feel that us moving is.
And I think you're actually looking at a potentially later time than movie getting over at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because at the June 26th, you're gonna be later
Right, it won't get
sunsets.
dark till probably 8, and so then my fear is if we do fireworks prior to the movie, I mean, me with young kids, if fireworks aren't gonna get over till 9 and we're not gonna start the movie till 9, I'm gone, my kids won't be able to do it, it's gonna be too much. So.
You can't see the movie when it's light.
And you can't, yeah, because you're gonna have all those lights down, like, it'll just be, so I don't know.
So what are the options? It feels like too complicated to do both.
Yes, if there was somewhere else that the fireworks could be done at.
You're stuck.
Not
there.
easily.
But then you're also pulling
Right,
people
we're
away
pulling
from
people
each
away
other's
from,
events.
yeah, from the fundraiser that's supposed to.
I'll just cancel it.
And maybe it's something that we can move to like Labor Day weekend or something for people.
I'll just cancel it.
I mean, is there really no, I'm just trying to, because I feel like our poor community hasn't had them in so many years now. Because of, just unforeseen circumstances.
Everything is already drawn up for that spot with the state, with the insurances and everything. It's set.
Yeah.
It's already fenced in. We don't have to put up a fence
Yeah.
to shoot them off. I mean, it's perfect with the hillside. You can't put everybody on the flat
Well,
ground.
would you
Even
even,
the date.
I'll just cancel it.
Okay, the
Can
only
we
day
just
that
reschedule?
there was somebody that could
Could I
shoot
get somebody to shoot off?
was that day.
around the,
And so we can't move ours till the 1st.
I think it's too public
It's-
that you're
yeah,
going to have people lose trust.
Oh, I don't know, we're that,
I
I mean,
don't
we're
think so, I
only
mean,
in
you're over,
April,
Yeah.
and we can
2
change,
months away.
I mean,
We can
we
change
have
the
to
date.
thank the libraries partnering in this too with their
Can we
resources,
change the
and
date?
that's a major commitment from
I mean,
them.
there's I was gonna say,
Because they have their events packed through the month.
but if we say we gotta have our event, and you can't have your fireworks, that's gonna make us look like we're a bunch of,
That's why I encourage trying to find another date, or if there is a way to figure out how, and this is me speaking personally, not as an alderwoman. If there's a way you can figure out to have it together, I don't know that that park's got the parking capacity to, because when people show up, if they have a bad experience on your first one, it's gonna ruin their experience for the second one. And so fewer and fewer people are gonna show up. If there is a way to
They're not
make,
gonna be fireworks at every movie,
Well-
I'm just saying that.
well,
That would be-
no, but if some people show up not realizing that the fireworks are the same thing.
Could we do, or do an intermission and do fireworks and then go back?
I mean, we can always change the website to say we've moved it to the 30th, fireworks on the 31st, or we could say we moved, what was wrong with the 7th, the next, I know it's a first Saturday.
And the libraries probably got their events booked up for them that month
I
already.
have-
well, and I was
I
gonna say,
have-
I've already been in
I
touch
have-
with the princesses, and like, it's just,
And the vendors, we have to call them too.
Well,
They
now,
have to-
Frozen, that's,
that's,
we're talking,
no, we're talking about Frozen.
we're talking about
We're
Frozen.
talking about Frozen.
Yeah, June 26th. But a lot of people are excited about both the movie and the fireworks, but a lot of them I don't think are piecing it together that it's the same time and thinking the time commitment. I hate to lose the fireworks throughout the, if it's not 4th of July weekend, I don't know that to the public it matters what weekend it is. I think they just like having something to look forward to. But I think the timing is what's made this such an issue, is because the first event is for the movies is already so promoted, and we're not just dealing with the park board here. I believe Sean might have been reaching out to the sponsors and stuff like that, so there's all these things that's in play.
Can I ask this? The company that you booked, part of the reason that date was picked is that their own availability as well? Is there anything later? I mean, when was their next open?
I didn't want to do it after the fact.
Maybe,
Well,
it's
maybe
not
that's
4th
the
of July,
second.
maybe it's a back-to-school event or a Labor Day event.
Or maybe,
I just won't do it. I don't want to.
Well, I think the community wants it, and I think even if it is after the fact, I think they'd still go and
I
understand.
do too, and maybe like even Monday the 5th or the 6th.
I mean, because even when you explained in your original post that that they were booked on the 4th and that you were gonna have to move the date, I felt like the community was very receptive to that understanding that. So I think even if it is after the 4th, you will still have a huge crowd. I think people will still come.
And I also don't think it has to be a weekend, it's summer then.
Yeah.
So kids aren't in school, there's a possibility maybe that company could do it in the week of July. I think maybe you should throw away that afterwards is silly, because I don't think it is silly. Because there's other, like St. Louis always had a second.
They'll have it on a Sunday day.
I feel like there's a way we could get done. I think it can be done.
Are you saying you voted on that date?
Not the same day.
Okay,
I think we'll get done.
You'll be in Kansas.
I don't know, because you got old people wanting fireworks and not wanting to do the movie.
Come back for Hey, John.
I think,
What
what
would be wrong with doing the movie on Friday night?
they're set on, I think, keeping
Yeah.
that movie
Yeah.
on
Well,
that date.
I'd have no problem.
I mean, for me, I just look at it like it's still a work day, so trying to get my kids, like, even when we picked movie nights, I was trying to stay away from the ideas of Fridays, because to me, it's just like, Friday at the end of the week, small kids are like, they're pretty tapped out, I guess you could say. It's just been a long week, and I mean, I don't know.
It's for commuting parents.
Well,
Yeah, that's true, commuting
how
parents,
about
but
moving
it's,
it to the 3rd of July? Of course, then you've got people that are
You've
going.
got the golf course.
I don't think the
fireworks,
fireworks are
yeah.
gonna budge. I mean,
I think we need to honor the work that the guys have
I will,
done.
and that's, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that was part of my frustration in this is that, you know, I felt like as a committee, we worked so hard on this, and I went through the proper channels of getting this approved,
Yeah.
presenting it, going to Pam to make sure that it didn't conflict with anything on the city calendar. And so, you know, I was, my heart sank when Gary called me, because I know that he really,
Both are important, yeah.
yes, they're so important, and he does such a great job for the community with the fireworks show, and everybody's so appreciative of it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just felt like if I weren't part of the board, and I was just a normal, you know, citizen that, you know, was gonna host something at the park, and this is what transpired, and I was told, well, sorry, you're gonna have to now move your date, I wouldn't ever plan something at the park again. I mean, that's just me being honest. I would feel like you know, I just, so, I mean, it's a hard pill, because I truly respect what Gary does for our community and all of the stuff you have to go through. So it's just it's the rock in a hard place.
okay,
I mean, I'll call them tomorrow, but I mean, there's a good chance of permits and everything are already started, so.
well, why don't we see
you know,
what's
that's all
going
gotta
on?
go through the state.
See what our options are.
If it's
Engineering
possible,
and everything.
we could always say, oops,
So-
there was a bang in the plans, we have, you know, I think the community will be receptive.
Well, I'm just saying on that board, if it's already
It's
started.
right.
Community might be fine, but then you got the permits.
yeah.
Right.
Taking the permits. I mean,
I'm
what
just
they
telling
can-
him that on that side
I mean, I
too.
don't know how easy it is to change a date on a permit. you know.
I get all that, but we don't know until we make a call.
Yeah,
That's true.
agreed.
That's true. Makes a problem.
And-
Find out.
I'll give a quick update on the trail committee, so Jeff,
But what are we gonna do about that? I mean, how are we gonna know?
he's gonna make some
I guess
calls.
I'll try and make a call in the morning.
Okay, did you get that? Okay.
If I can't change it, I'll cancel it.
Yeah, it feels like we'll stay with that night for the movie, my opinion on it, we stay with the movie night as it's scheduled, and then we'll see what we can do, if there's any other options on fireworks. I don't know, we need to vote on that or not, but
We're not gonna cancel. We'll figure something out.
we need, yeah, we need to be,
Yeah.
It's so important to too many people.
yeah.
I think, I mean, just as the library, I think it would just be easier on my end to just probably cancel the movie for June and then just move it to July. I can do it on my end. It's just the other things that have been taken care of are the other thing. And what she said kind of, I think it needs to be taken away from this. I came to you guys with the understanding we were gonna work together. This happening does not bode well for the park, because that is horrible. It's horrible. I get that we only have a few days for fireworks, and I don't wanna be the reason my family can't see, fireworks. But at the same time, we went through the channels for 2 months, and for that to be, oh, sorry, something else came up, you're gonna have to deal with it, or you change. I don't think that's how you need to operate an organization. So, I'm saying my piece, I'm still, we're still gonna do this, but if you can't change the fireworks, we're not canceling the fireworks. I would rather do something very well instead of half-assing anything. And that's what we would be doing. If you try and put the movie at the beginning of the fireworks, at the end of the fireworks, in the middle of the fireworks, it all sounds miserable, because we're bringing, a movie for little girls and little boys that, it's a family movie. And trying to deal with, it just makes me, trying to do the fireworks in town is already, a challenge for the past couple of years, because I have kids under 8. I can't imagine trying to find a place to go see a movie and then being like, okay, no, we're not gonna watch a movie yet, first we're gonna watch fireworks, and then that gets them all excited, and then, okay, no, now we're gonna watch that. By the time it's all said and done, you'd lose half your crowd, and then, we're not going back in July, that was just crazy.
Yeah, I'm not hearing doing both from the same time.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I'm also not in favor of getting rid of the fireworks just to appease us, but I just want it to be understood that, I mean, you're setting a precedence that is very dangerous, that is basically saying, work with us, but if something comes up that's beneficial to the park board or the community as a whole, and it's gonna interfere with, and your event's gonna interfere, we will cancel it. So like, that's kind of the message you're putting out there. I'm just letting you know that, as an organization that is all about working together. That's all I wanna do for my community, is make this better. So I'm just telling you what I see.
Hopefully what you're hearing tonight is Gary's gonna work on some.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that, but I also want you to understand that I'm not sitting here going, you cancel it, I don't wanna deal with it, we're not gonna have fireworks if it has, I'm saying, I will do what needs to happen on my end, granted, you know, we got other things that we're dealing with. I would rather have fireworks than not have them, and if the only time it's gonna work is that day, I'm just letting you know that that's the way I kinda see it, so. But that's just my opinion, I need to get going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Just let me know what's going on tomorrow.
I will.
Then go check on it. So trail, hopefully you guys have all had a chance to go out and see the trail is marked. So the existing trail that's being removed is marked red, and the trail that we're keeping is blue, and we marked the grass white, and it's all gone by now. But if you'd like, anybody like to go out and walk the trail with me, I can show you what the plan is. And walk out, yeah, so give me a call, we'll go out and walk the park.
So how do we get a bid, know how much it's gonna cost?
So I got one, and I sent it to you.
Yeah, he
So,
said, it. yeah,
Go ahead.
it's
Go
a
ahead.
Facebook
I
messenger.
saw your message.
Yeah.
Oh,
so-
well.
Yeah, so.
We got a bid, but it didn't include the loop around the pond.
Which I think is
Pivotal.
one of the things that really.
Yeah, so I think we'll get that bid separately, so, yeah.
There you
so
go.
we can
At least you can
we'll break it
forward.
out, yep. So it's like everything else, the trail committee has to go back again, we'll have to go back again, right, and get some other options, because things like the soccer fields is another thing we gotta get a bid on, so the, as far as putting the trail next to the soccer field. So, but the main loop is bid, so there's more work to do, the trail committee is working on it.
John, what did you say your colors were? Red was to be removed.
Red's to be removed, blue is to be kept. And
Is there green or yellow?
it was, we had white on the,
Green, green, grass.
yeah, so we marked it again.
Is there,
White was being moved over, right?
Brand new
Or
trail,
like
yep,
just a-
yeah, brand new trail.
is there estimate on ADA spec?
Yes,
It was.
yes, yep. It follows the slope that Nick gave them,
That's
so,
pretty close.
which was 88 space.
Okay. And then.
So Nick and I walked with them,
Okay. Oh, okay.
with me, and then, we had the information from Nick, who was in the master plan. So for now, it's just budgetary, to get it run and field, so we can add and change.
And it came out to 275 to 325,
Yeah.
right?
So probably use 300 for the, because that was asphalt, that was not concrete.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
now we need to get bid on the concrete.
Okay.
What do we want?
Concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't approve that.
That's what I thought,
So, like I said, there's more work for the trail committee to do, that's a start.
Yes, it is.
Well, that gives us at least an idea.
Yeah, right.
I was pretty close with what I'm saying.
Yeah, what'd you have?
About 500, about
Yeah,
half a
Yeah,
million.
that's what Jeff had, was $500,000. Jeff had gotten a concrete estimate from a buddy of his, and it was $500,000.
Okay, and now, next is playground. I'll be honest with you, since taking over my new position at work, I've had hardly any time to work on playground stuff yet. So I'm settling in finally at Cheerios, I call it. It's Cheerios. And I'll be working on that with Mr. Candidate and Kendra. But I was at the dog park today, and we need to kind of focus on remodeling, and refreshing that park too, but
Really nice one,
I think that's too another community thing.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that that's on my little list of things too.
Good. Anything else?
Yeah, where is it?
Like if you're going to, like where Lowe's is, it's up,
Oh,
you
that's
gotta go
right.
over there, and then you go kind of like past the left side of the roof of Lowe's, on the left side, and you go down and go down the bottom down there, and down there, right? It's huge.
All right, now we're a little short on time. Any other new business?
The French Heritage Festival needs to use the Main Street Park with the
Okay.
park board's permission.
Yes.
What is that?
June 12th.
All right, been moved, seconded. By Warren, you want to second that? You good with it?
Yeah, I'm great with that.
Okay, good.
I thought you said it's the
All right,
moon,
all right.
light, the moon's
All
coming
right,
up.
all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Toby, I hear you're leaving. That's huge.
Usually good?
For you, for you, I'm glad you're going to Kansas.
Thanks. They need me in Kansas.
Kansas. We're gonna be really missing you.
There often.
You did a lot in your little bit of time.
Thanks.
It's very appreciative, very appreciated. You'll be sorely missed. Missing this girl.
Yeah.
Kind of speaking of events in Main Street Park, I don't, with Fourth Fridays starting up again, I don't know if there's opportunities that the park board wants to take advantage of. Doing things down there occasionally, if anybody wants to brainstorm. In June 26th, actually, that, during the day, that whole weekend is the Honey Festival downtown. I don't know if there's an opportunity for the parks to do anything there or not, if we could work with the organizers. I know they had their application fees and stuff due the other day, so I don't know what,
I think too, like, even if we don't capitalize on those nights to
Yeah.
make fundraising, just having it offered out
Present.
as a community
Yeah.
service to them, like, hey, come use that park
Yeah.
again, you know? It'd be kind of cool to have an outdoor art show, somebody local that doesn't have a gallery or something, that'd be a cool place
That
to
would be a neat idea.
hang their own stuff, you know? The artworks, that was pretty good this past weekend,
It was.
the first one.
Enjoy it.
Those are neat events. Those go through December too, don't they?
October at least.
It's October, isn't it?
Yeah, at least. And they kind of decide depending on how Thanksgiving falls in November.
Any other new business or other business? All right, I move to adjourn.
At 7?
Second, all in favor, say aye.